It's so um, and as you know, this month is Chiari Malformation Awareness Month. And I wanted to share with you my personal journey of what Chiari malformation has been like for me since my diagnosis, actual correct diagnosis 16 years ago, and what led up to getting the proper diagnosis. But before we do anything, we have to go to God in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing me together, me and all my guests who are tuning in. We are sorry for the delay tonight, but there's always something that's going to happen whenever you're trying to spread the word or bring awareness to anything. But we thank you for your guidance, for your patience, for your understanding, for each and everything that we do. Help the words of my mouth fall upon the ears that need to hear, and help me to bring awareness to this rare condition that there is no cure for. It is a condition that is invisible to the eye, but the patients who deal with it, like myself, we are walking testimonies and blessings of what you can do when we trust in your healing. In your precious and holy name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. And as I was saying, this month is Chiari Malformation Awareness Month. And the last show that I did, I talked to you about what Chiari Malformation is. And tonight I wanted to talk to you about my journey and what it has been like for me being diagnosed with this condition. And I'll be honest, when I first found out I had this condition, I had never heard of it before. And it was an incidental finding. And what I mean by that is, and y'all, I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. I'm not growing. I'm still going to forever be 4'8", but I'll probably spread in areas that I shouldn't. But anyway, um, I had a stroke in 2009, and that was August the 22nd of 2009. That's what led me to finding out that I had Chiari malformation, but I still wasn't quite sure. A month after having my stroke, I was back in the hospital, literally on September the 20 the September 22nd of 2009, and being in there just literally less than 30 days after having a stroke, I was back in the hospital. And the doctors and nurses, they really didn't have an idea of why I was back, because I wasn't presenting stroke like symptoms at that time. I didn't have any other things that would indicate that I was having another stroke, so they really did not know, but they knew something was wrong, and I was admitted again to the hospital for another 4 days. And I had one of the nurses who came in, and she was telling me that she had just had one of her friends died, inserted into the hospital, admitted into the hospital for something similar that I was having. And she told me what it was. So I asked one of the nurses, if they could take me down to the records department so that I could get my medical records from my previous visit. And I wasn't going to be able to get the other records until I was actually discharged from the hospital so that I could compare all of the notes. And so she told me about the condition Chiari malformation. And so all I had was my phone. So I started doing some research about the symptoms that I was experiencing. And these were symptoms that I had been having as a little girl growing up, which was the nosebleeds, the palpitations, the numbness and tingling in my hands and feet. So this was always something that I had been dealing with, but never been properly diagnosed. The headaches that would last for days, the shortness of breath, the ringing in the ears, all of these things, not all at one time, but over time, these were symptoms that would start. The numbness and the tingling in the hands that started around age 19. The nosebleeds had always been from age 5 till still. I still deal with the random nosebleeds and have no indication that that's going to happen. It's not because I've gotten hot or overheated or anything like that, but I do deal with temperature, where I can't really regulate my body temperature. Um, so being admitted into the hospital that second time in 2009, it was frustrating, but it was something that was necessary. So, needless to say, I ended up getting my medical record. In that, I found the information about Chiari malformation, and it was there. It was there in the original visit from when I had the stroke, but it wasn't mentioned to me when I was being released from the hospital. They only said that I had a stroke, I had a 2 millimeter brain aneurysm, and that they were more concerned with those things than anything else, and they didn't feel that the Chiari was significant. So after doing more research, not being able to use my left side, not being able to walk, not being able to hold a loaf of bread, tie my shoe, button a shirt, zip my pants, it just the normal things that do coincide with having a stroke. That was something that was very, very frustrating to me. But having to raise 3 small children, I had to do my research. So after getting all of my paperwork, I started doing the research, um, finding out that 1 in every 1,000 person is diagnosed with Chiari malformation, you would have to deal with a true Chiari specialist. There are neurosurgeons, but there is a difference in the specialty of what they deal with. So having a surgery by a neurosurgeon who does not specialize in Chiari malformation is not a good idea, but it's not something that I have considered doing. So fast forward to 2013, I had a major flare up with my condition. I went to bed on a Wednesday night. The next morning, I woke up and the whole entire left side of from my face all the way down to my foot, I could not feel, but at the same time, it was twitching. So I couldn't describe it in no other way. I had a horrible headache, which I was used to having a headache because that's one of the major symptoms of Chiari malformation. And went to the doctor. They just treated me for migraines and sent me home. Well, over the course of a week, I ended up losing my ability to speak. And it was frustrating because, as you can see, I talk very well. I do have some issues every once in a while where I lose um, my train of thought or words get twisted or whatever. But this is something that I've had to learn to deal with having this condition. So that was frustrating to say the least because I went to bed and I woke up different. And not only that, it was hard to communicate to the doctors what I was experiencing. And they were more concerned with the aneurysm rupturing or it causing some problems. And it's like, that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about everything else because I was fine a couple of days ago. And I have a video that I'll post in my group, in the Believe in the Journey group, about what happened because about 3 days before I had that issue, I had done a photo shoot and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Nothing seemed as if this was going to be a flare up or anything like that. But needless to say, that flare up took me out of work. I could not work. I was working at an optical place. So I was an optician. Well, I was actually a contact lens manager, and I could not um, perform my job anymore because trying to measure somebody for their glasses and your hands are shaking, you don't want to mess up progressive on a person who is going to be using those glasses. That's just not a good look. And so I was unable to do my job. And that took me out of work for about 2 years. And honestly, I've never truly been cleared to go back to work. But when you have 3 kids that you have to take care of, and you're a single parent, you got to do what you got to do. And I refuse to sit around and wait for disability, even though I had the medical evidence. The two neurologists had signed off on me to be able to, be approved for my disability. But, when you have people who don't really understand what this condition is, and just because I look fine, and I was in my 30s when I was trying to get disability, to them, I could find a job that will allow me to sit and miss 75% of days. I don't know what job will allow you to miss 75% of the days that you're scheduled to work. But needless to say, that was the information that they gave me, that I could find a job that would allow me to miss those days. Um, Jobs are not very forgiving in situations like that, and I ended up walking away from a job because I had an employer who was not very agreeable when it came to my condition. And she didn't understand, and I don't understand why she didn't understand. But when you are dealing with a neurologist, they are specialty doctors, and they usually don't work on Fridays. And the company that I was working for, we were closed on Fridays to see patients. However, we still had to come into the office. And um when the temperature starts to change, the season starts to change, my body is affected by the change in the weather. And I let them know before I even got hired that this was going to be something that was going to be an issue for me. And if it wasn't something that they were going to be able to deal with, to let me know up front, and they could go with another candidate. Well, I got hired. The woman that hired me was not the lady who was actually over all of us, but the operations manager. When she came in, her attitude, she was basically on a power trip. And you deal with some of those people who are on power trips, to where if they don't have control at home, if they're in an authoritative position, they tend to abuse their power. And that was the situation. So when it came down to me having to miss days and go to these appointments with my neurologist, not just here in South Carolina, but I had to travel to North Carolina to get treatment and help due to Chiari, because there's not really many local doctors that specialize in treating Chiari, whether it's by prescription medications or holistic medications. So I had to travel, and so she didn't like that. So um, I ended up, she ended up trying to report me to HR. Well, what happened was the HR director sent paperwork for my doctors to sign off on, and it fell under the Americans Disability Act. And with it falling under that, she had no basis to fire me. So she used it as, if I was late for any reason that she felt was unacceptable, that that would be the cause. Well, we ended up getting into a disagreement about, um I got a flat tire. I came in, um I called and let her know that I was going to be there. I got there even before the office opened because I was at the tire place early. And I got there, that was a Tuesday. That Thursday, my face was so swollen because I was in so much pain that I could not be at the front desk. And so I told her that, I was going to utilize one of the days to go home. And she didn't like that very much, needless to say. So she told me that I was going to be suspended. So my question was, okay, if I'm going to be suspended, for what reason, for how long, and is it with pay? Those were questions that she refused to answer. So, me being in the amount of pain that I was in, my face was swollen because I was in so much pain. I just said, keep the job. I'm going home. And that's what I did. So, working with a condition like this, just because people can't see oftentimes what you're going through, they will try to make you feel bad for actually feeling bad. And there's nothing that I can do with Chiari. There's nothing that I can, like, there's no cure for this. So I can't make this go away. It's not something that is curable. I make the best of every single day that I have. The random dizzy spells, the um, numbness and tingling in my hands and feet, the horrible headaches, um, the ringing in the ears, the heart palpitations. Earlier today, my son was talking about he touched my hands and they were ice cold. Now, mind you, I was under a fleece blanket on the bed because I was taking a nap, but my hands were ice cold. So he told me don't touch him, but I didn't touch him. He touched me first. Anyway, that was just, this is not an easy condition to live with. It's not an easy condition to deal with. Most people don't understand that if I tell you I'm not hungry, it has nothing to do with me not wanting to eat. Sometimes having this condition, I don't have an appetite. I don't remember to eat. It's, even though I'm like a plus size woman, you would think that I'm eating all the time, but I'm not. I don't have an appetite, and trying to get people to understand that it affects my appetite is hard for people to understand. And they're like, well, just eat something. Okay, yeah, I can eat something, but if I don't like what it is that I'm eating, I'm going to throw it up because I will not be able to stomach it. And so trying to explain that is frustrating because people don't seem to understand that if I'm telling you I'm not hungry, I'm really and truly not hungry. And then there will be days where I binge eat, and it's not an eating disorder. And what I mean by binge eat is meaning I will eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I will have the usual three meals, but they're still not like a full meal for someone else. Like I might eat a whole thing of fruit. I might eat a thing of like some vegetables, like some turnip greens, cabbage, um, corn, just it's something like that, and that's not for everybody. So my journey with Kiari has not been an easy one. It has been one that not only myself and my children have had to learn to deal with, and cope with, and learn the signs and symptoms of when I am having a bad day. My face will be swollen. Um, Not just my face will be swollen, but you can tell in my voice, um, in my body if I'm not able to move. Like as long as I'm up and I'm moving around, then it's fine. But the instant I have sat down for more than 30 minutes, it makes it very painful to get up and move around. And sometimes you'll never notice those things, but if I mentally tell myself that I have these things that I have to do, I'm able to get them all done. Like the other day, I cleaned the kitchen and I went through, cleaned out the refrigerator, put away some laundry, took all of the trash out, did all of that. And by the end of the night, I was in so much pain that it hurt. And so it's not easy, but I make it look easy. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I got the hiccups. So I'm not going to be doing much more talking. But my journey with Kiari has been one of challenging, one of learning to pay more attention to my body, even though some days I am still very stubborn and very hard headed. But I don't take chances when things stay numb for too long, or I have these nosebleeds that last for too long, or if I'm feeling too much pressure, too much pain, I will go to the hospital and get checked out. One of the reasons it's hard for a black woman to go to the hospital because most of the time they thinking that I'm seeking pain medicine, and I'm not. I'm seeking relief for the pain that I'm in. So it's hard to advocate for myself in a sense of not just being one to seek medication, because I'm not a pill popper. And that's not something that I like to do. I don't like to take medication because I always look at the side effects of the medications before I even take them. So I always try to find natural remedies to help ease my pain and to help me get through my day. Um, so going to the hospital or the emergency room is usually my last resort if I can't find comfort in the home remedies, so to speak. Um, but Chiari is not a an easy condition to deal with. Um, Advocate for yourself. Advocacy is very, very important when it comes to your health. Make sure that you are asking all of the necessary questions. If you are unsure about something, make sure that you're writing it down so when you do go to your next checkup or appointment or whatever, that you have those questions. And if your doctor is not making you feel comfortable, go and seek a second opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. People will always try to tell you that what they think is best, or they try to minimize the symptoms that you're having because they don't see it. But you live with your body 365 days out of the year. You know when something feels off. So make sure that you are telling them when something doesn't feel right, if this is a new symptom, because with Chiari, there is going to be something different that you're going to experience. And that's one thing that I have noticed over the years. And as I get older, there are new symptoms. Also, I'm now going through menopause. So there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on right now that I don't always understand. But God has kept me covered. He has kept me going. He keeps everything that I need. So even on the days when I don't quite understand what's going on and what He's putting me through, He makes sure that I make it to the next destination that He has for me. So if I have given you any information, or if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And if I don't know the answers about Chiari malformation, I will definitely find someone who does. But September is Chiari Malformation Awareness Month. Color is purple. And I thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and make sure that you advocate and love someone like myself who has Chiari. And always remember, stay out of God's business. The only thing that He needs you to do is to be obedient to what He's called you to do. Good night, you guys. I'm going to share that video on my page. Good night.